The sound of a child crying echoed through the silent marble halls of the mansion like a crack in glass, sharp and unexpected, stopping the millionaire CEO mid-step, as if fate itself had reached out and grabbed him by the chest. It was not the loud cry of tantrums or demands that he was used to hearing in boardrooms and negotiations, but a soft, broken sob, the kind that comes from a place of helplessness and loss. In that moment, surrounded by wealth, power, and everything money could buy, the man felt something he had not felt in years, discomfort mixed with curiosity, and a strange pull toward a pain that was not his own. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of compassion to change lives, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may be waiting for a reminder that humanity still exists. The CEO had built his empire on discipline, control, and emotional distance. His days were calculated down to minutes, his decisions driven by numbers rather than feelings. The mansion he lived in reflected that mindset perfectly, grand yet cold, beautiful yet empty, staffed by employees who worked efficiently but stayed invisible. Among them was a maid named Amina, a widowed woman who cleaned floors that shone brighter than her own future. She arrived every morning before sunrise and left long after sunset, her hands rough from labor, her back bent not just from work but from life itself. Her daughter Hannah sometimes came with her when there was no one else to watch her, sitting quietly in corners, trying not to be seen in a world that constantly reminded her she did not belong there. That day, Hannah sat near the servant corridor clutching a small, worn-out toy, its plastic cracked and one wheel missing. It was the only gift her late father had managed to buy her before illness broke beyond the way. When it finally broke beyond repair, something inside the child broke with it. The tears she cried were not just for the toy, but for memories, for her father, and for a life that had never offered her replacements. Amina tried to comfort her while working, whispering reassurances between wiping tables and dusting shelves, but exhaustion weighed heavy on her voice, and fear lingered in her heart. She feared being seen as unprofessional, feared losing the job that barely kept them afloat, feared that her daughter's pain would be judged as inconvenience. The CEO followed the sound without realizing it, his polished shoes slowing as he approached the corridor he rarely acknowledged. When he saw the child, small and trembling, his first instinct was irritation. This was his house, his controlled environment, and emotions were disruptions. Yet something held him there. Perhaps it was the memory of his own childhood, long buried beneath layers of ambition. He had grown up poor, in a cramped apartment where toys were rare and silence was not an option. He remembered crying once over a broken object and being told to stop, to toughen up, to survive. That memory surfaced now like an old wound reopening. He stood there unnoticed for a few seconds, observing how Amina worked with one hand while trying to calm her daughter with the other, never fully succeeding at either. He noticed how the child tried to suppress her cries when footsteps passed, learning too early that her pain was something to hide. The CEO felt a tightening in his chest that no business failure had ever caused. This was not a problem he could solve with money alone, or so he thought. As he turned to leave, something made him stop again. The toy lay on the floor, broken and discarded like it no longer mattered. But he knew better. He knew how objects could carry meaning far greater than their value. Without announcing himself, he quietly picked it up and examined it. It was beyond simple repair, but not beyond hope. That small act alone sent shockwaves through the household. Because the CEO was not known for noticing details below his level, let alone involving himself in the lives of staff. The rest of the day passed differently for him. Meetings felt hollow, emails meaningless. His mind kept drifting back to the child's tears and the look of resignation on Amina's face. He realized that despite having everything, he had been living a life strangely empty of warmth. That night, instead of dining alone in silence, he walked through rooms filled with expensive art and asked himself when he had last felt truly human. The next morning, something changed. The CEO arrived earlier than usual, carrying a small box. The household staff noticed the shift in his demeanor, the absence of his usual cold efficiency. When Amina arrived with Hana, anxiety etched into her face as always. She sensed tension in the air. Hana clutched her mother's hand, eyes swollen from the previous day, expecting nothing but another long, quiet wait. What happened next stunned everyone. The CEO approached them calmly, kneeling slightly so he was not towering over the child. Without saying a word, he placed the box gently on the table nearby and stepped back. Inside was not just a new toy, but a carefully chosen one, similar to the broken one but stronger, better made, and accompanied by a small toolkit. The message was clear without words. This is not just a replacement, this is respect for what you lost. Hana's tears returned, but this time they were different. They carried disbelief and fragile joy. Amina froze, overwhelmed by emotions she had never expected to feel in that house. Gratitude mixed with fear, because kindness from powerful people often came with conditions. But none came. The CEO simply nodded and walked away, leaving behind a silence heavier than before, but warmer. The household buzzed with whispers. Staff members who had worked there for years could hardly process what they had witnessed. It challenged their understanding of who he was. Some felt hope, others skepticism, but all felt something shift in the air. Acts like that were rare, and rarity gave them power. Yet the true shock was still to come. Over the following weeks, the CEO began noticing more. He noticed tired eyes, silent struggles, and unspoken needs. He introduced small changes that slowly transformed the environment. Break times became humane, wages were reviewed, and for the first time, employees felt seen, not as numbers or roles, but as people. This was not charity, but dignity. Amina's life changed in subtle but profound ways. She worked with less fear and more confidence. Hana began to smile more, her laughter filling spaces that once echoed with emptiness. The CEO would occasionally see her playing in the garden, a place once reserved only for aesthetics, now alive with innocence. Each time, it reminded him that success without compassion was a hollow victory. The biggest transformation, however, happened inside the CEO himself. He started revisiting memories he had long suppressed. He remembered the people who had helped him when he had nothing, and those who had ignored him when he needed them most. He realized he had become both without noticing. The broken toy had been a mirror, showing him the parts of himself that needed repair. Months later, during a quiet evening, the CEO found the old broken toy displayed carefully on a shelf near the staff area, cleaned and preserved. Hana had insisted it stay, because it reminded her that broken things could still matter. That realization struck him deeply. He understood then that his action had not been about generosity, but about connection. A simple moment of empathy had created ripples that changed lives, including his own. As this story comes close to its end, take a moment to reflect. If this journey touched your heart even a little, please like the video, share it with someone who needs a reminder of humanity, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps keep stories like this alive. And before the ending, we have a special request for you. Comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. In the end, the mansion remained grand, the CEO remained wealthy, and life continued with its usual pace. But something invisible had changed forever. A child learned that her pain was seen. A mother learned that dignity could exist even in service. And a powerful man learned that true leadership begins not in boardrooms, but in moments of compassion that ask for nothing in return. The broken toy never truly broke anything. Instead, it fixed hearts that did not even know they were damaged.